What's up everybody, Spock here. Today I'm going over 3 tips on how to make your beats sound more unique like BNYX. I'm going to go over 2 beats that I've made, the first one in Ableton and the second one in FL. These beats don't sound exactly like a BNYX type beat, because I think it's important to still sound like yourself and not just directly rip somebody off. But these are just some tips that I picked up from listening to BNYX beats that I can apply to my own beats to make myself sound more unique and not just like I'm ripping him off. All of the drum sounds and most of the one-shot sounds come from my free Genesis bundle, which is linked down below in the description. It's totally free. I made all these sounds from scratch and I think you'll really enjoy them. Make sure to join the Discord server that's linked down below as well. Let's just jump right into it. Here's the first beat. Probably hear some of the BNYX inspiration. First thing I noticed when listening to BNYX beats are the unique 808 and bass choice and the patterns. So you can see I have 3 different bass sounds playing just in this pattern. So there's 3 different 808 or bass sounds that kind of switch back and forth, so it sounds really complex, but it's fairly simple at its core. The first 2 808s are from my free Genesis kit, and the 3rd bass sound I made in Serum for a new pack I'm working on. If I only play the first 808, it's very simple. So then I just filled in these 2 notes here with the second 808. So it adds a little more interest than it all just being the same 808 sample the whole way through. BNYX is kind of known for these like analog sounding plucky bass sounds. So the second tip is about making melodies and kind of arranging those. You don't want just one instrument sound playing every note of the chord. You want to spread it out among different instruments. So I'll go through one by one all the elements I've used here. So I just have an arpeggio, a vocal layer, a bass, just a single note playing quarter notes, and then later on comes another arpeggio. Please let me know if you have other video ideas or if you'd like me to go more in depth in sound design in the future, or I just need to gauge kind of what skill level you guys are at, because I don't want to go too advanced if you're a little more beginner, but I also don't want to stay too beginner if you guys are ready to do a little more advanced stuff. Tip number 3 is all about ear candy. BNYX tends to use a lot of weird, unique sample selection, especially within his drums. All sorts of weird percussion sounds and things like that. I always talk about sample selection, but he's just a perfect example of thinking outside the box and using kind of weird, unique sounds, or just arranging them in unorthodox patterns. So an example of that here is this open hat roll I did. And in context, it sounds like this. So there's 3 tips that I used in the first beat. I'm going to show you how I used the same basic 3 tips in the second beat. So here's beat number 2. So how I use tip number 1 in this beat about the unique 808s and bass choice is, again, I use 3 different 808 or bass sounds. So that first sound is just an 808 from the Genesis kit. The second 2 sounds are some Serum presets I've been working on for an upcoming kit. I didn't use tip number 2 quite as much, having to do with the melodies and spreading them out among different instruments in this beat, but I'll play the main 2 elements together right here. But here's another little quick tip I used in here. You can either play with the velocities down here, or you can play the parts in by hand to give it that more humanized feel so it doesn't sound quite as robotic. And that applies to all different types of beats, not just BNYX beats. It just gives your beats a lot more character and human feel. Now we're on tip number 3, which was ear candy. Something I experimented by doing here is having 2 snare hits on the main snare with just different velocities. I'll go ahead and play that now. And in context with the rest of the drums, it sounds like this. In context, you can hear the kind of weird, unique bounce that it adds. With the hi-hats on this, I kept them very simple, but I added in these little ear candy notes, which are down low just to give it that extra bounce. Another thing that BNYX tends to do that's related to ear candy is he adds a lot of snare rolls, so I did that as well. There's different drum sounds playing in between the gaps of the other drum sounds. It's kind of a tough thing to describe, but I think you'll kind of hear what I mean when I play everything in context again. You have the different 808 sounds pulling in and out, the 2 snare hits, the low hi-hat hits, these accent snare rolls. So everything playing together kind of bounces off each other and forms this really unique bounce. Obviously, bonus tip number 4, the bell. So yeah, I know these tips are not necessarily how to make a BNYX type beat, but these are just some things that I've kind of picked up on when listening to his productions. I've been trying to implement into my own beats to make my beats more unique. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up or like or whatever. I've never really done these types of tutorial videos before, so this is kind of new territory for me. I've done streams and things like that, but doing a rough script and filming and editing like a tutorial video, I'm fairly new to this, so please let me know what you think and if it's helpful. Most of the sounds in the video are from my free Genesis bundle, so go download that, join the Discord server. I'm really just trying to create some value for you guys and share the knowledge I've learned over the past 12 years now that I've been producing. So let me know what other videos you want to see. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm just going to play it out with the beat.